today. So that was weird. Yikes. I'm gonna wait for you guys to, you guys, like, Instagram's getting so stressful because of just, like, censorship. But pretty much what just happened is my live got shut down. And then it said, cannot post this live because rights belong to someone else. Did I say anything that could belong to someone else? Like, these opinions are my own. So if I did get to your question, I know we were in the middle of something, just please ask it again and we'll kind of pretend we're starting this live all over again. I was able to save that live, so hopefully I can get it on YouTube, but apparently Instagram does not like what I have to say. Whenever I say PUFAS, I'll just spell it because apparently I get flagged, is whenever I say PUFAS or BAD, I always get flagged. I don't understand. Like, they're like, I'm just like, oh, okay. Anytime that happens, I'm just like, okay, I know I'm saying something correct because somebody wants to hide it. But anyways, so yeah, I will make sure that goes on YouTube. But I am going to, like, get my email marketing, like, list going by Friday, because everything, like, with censorship that's going on right now is just, like, freaking me the hell out. I don't want to lose contact with you guys. So say the worst comes to happen and, like, my Instagram gets shut down, I want some way of communicating with you. And so if you guys are on my email list, you'll be able to get an email from me just saying, like, hey guys, still alive, we're still trucking. It's just gonna be, like, a different type of communication. And it's weird because that's really the direction that Instagram is heading. Like, anytime you talk about anything truthful, they don't like it. Okay, hey, I can't find a clean milk of magnesia in Canada. What should I look for if I want to make my own magnesium bicarbonate? Pristine Hydro does have these little packs that all you have to do is add it to some carbonated water. That's, like, a really good way. You can also make it out of magnesium hydroxide and carbonated water. Like, magnesium hydroxide powder mixed with water that has CO2 in it does go together and create magnesium bicarbonate. So there's plenty of you can totally Google it, like, how to make magnesium bicarbonate out of magnesium hydroxide powder, and usually there will be stuff that comes up. Hyperlactin causes or whys, how to help it get lower. Stress. Prolactin is a stress hormone for sure. And if we have hyperlactin, a lot of times it's high estrogen. High estrogen usually is going to drive hyperlactin or vice versa. So usually it can involve, like, improper detoxification of estrogens going on, but a lot of times prolactin is going to be driven by high stress. That's why I always say, like, people that always say, like, oh, my hormones are normal, and I'm always like, dig deeper, because there's going to be one stress hormone that's high. It's just taking and finding what it is. A lot of times what's happening too, remember, prolactin is secreted by the pituitary gland, and so if our thyroid is if our body's having to work extra hard and our thyroid's not functioning properly, that's going to put a lot of weight and stress on the pituitary gland, which is going to make more prolactin. So keep in mind, if you, like, have done anything stressful, like low carb diet, keto, anything like that, or even, like, had a stressful event in your life and thyroid function has been suppressed, then the pituitary gland will have to take a brunt. Is an MRI a safer option than an X-ray? That's a good question. I actually don't know the difference. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know the difference radiation-wise. And so when it comes to, like, X-rays and MRIs, I don't know. Like, is an MRI radiation? Someone that's an expert, let me know. But I do know, like, the radiation, especially for people that are hypothyroid or have, like, a lot of hormonal issues, can definitely experience long-term issues from too much radiation exposure. Even when you spell it, you start to freeze. So crazy. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, who would have known talking about some type of fat would get you, like, banned from social media? It's funny. Is someone reporting you, or is that just Instagram hearing it? I think it's just the algorithm, honestly. And, like, okay, so yesterday, I'll just, like, really quick, and I'll get back to your questions. Like, what I posted on Instagram caused, like, a storm of reactions. And anytime you talk about something like that, like, people do not like it. And I'm sure I probably got reported multiple times. There were a lot of people that were very triggered. So Instagram might be watching me, whatever. I have a very sensitive stomach in the morning. Thoughts, tips for this? I drink lots of water, and usually a bagel is the only thing I can eat that doesn't upset it. Thanks. If we have like an upset stomach in the morning, usually it's blood sugar related. So when was your last meal? If you're waiting more than 10 hours or even 12 hours since your last meal, that's the first thing that probably needs to change. A lot of times we're waking up with tons of stress, tons of adrenaline, tons of cortisol, and so our body's already been kind of in this fight or flight state for a couple of hours. And so by the time we wake up, we're in a state of like survival. And so keeping blood sugar balanced throughout the day and eating a bedtime snack can sometimes really help us wake up better in the morning. But sometimes like ginger tea can help in the morning as well. I've suspected thyroid issues, but had it all tested, came out normal after 12 hours of fasting. Should I get retested after meals or not really necessary? It's one of those things where you can decide for yourself. Sometimes people truly don't have the thyroid markers that show hypothyroidism. That does not mean we don't have subclinical hypothyroidism, meaning our cells not responding to thyroid properly or whatever is going on. But how are your temps and pulses? Are they in the optimal ranges? If not, there is definitely some stuff to work on, and you don't need a test to tell you that that's going on. Read Hypothyroidism, the Unsuspected Illness by Dr. Broda Barnes. That's a really, really good book if you suspect hypothyroidism, but you're really not sure how to go about it. If you had a family member diagnosed with cancer, say breast, what would your personal approach be? Chemo, no. My personal approach would be like, a lot of times they'll do like aromatase inhibitors for breast cancer. That's something I would possibly look into. I would, of course, be running a panel to make sure like all stress hormones are lower. I would be very careful as to like, I would be looking into like making sure aluminum levels. A lot of women with breast cancer have high amounts of aluminum from like deodorant and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things I would think. Like it's definitely like probably shouldn't talk about it here, but there's definitely so many factors that it would be a multifaceted approach. But personally, like I don't think I would go on chemo. That's just my personal, if I had breast cancer, but that is always like a personal choice. So I would be looking into estrogen, progesterone, history. So are there breast implants? Has there been a hysterectomy? Like what type of heavy metal exposure has been involved? Like what has her environment been? How long has she used conventional deodorant? Like everything. Like I would look at all of it and decide what could be possibly causing the estrogen to not to be aromatizing or to not be detoxified properly, because 9 times out of 10 that's what's driving. I just got a blood test done. It shows high cholesterol, and I have high blood pressure now. I was vegan before and didn't have these issues. Any idea what could be happening? Remember, guys, that high cholesterol, what's high cholesterol? I mean, a lot of times people need cholesterol at least at 200, if not higher. It's protective. Cholesterol is going to be the thing that turns into your sex hormones. You need red light and vitamin A in order to turn cholesterol into hormones. Being a vegan just because your cholesterol is low on a vegan diet doesn't really mean much to me, honestly. Like, I'm just kind of like, because there's obviously issues. If you were like in perfect health on a vegan diet and you didn't have like any, I don't know what you're dealing with, but like if you don't have any hormonal issues, autoimmunity, anything like that. But if you're not in a good place health-wise, which I'm assuming because you're here, then it's one of those things where that's just a symptom of a problem, right? Like we're not able to convert hormones from cholesterol, so we're eating more saturated fats, and so there's going to be more cholesterol, and we're not able to convert that cholesterol into sex hormones. That's an issue that needs to be dealt with. It's not the cholesterol's fault, it's the fact we're not converting it. And then like high blood pressure, like are you making sure you're getting enough sodium and potassium and magnesium? Like minerals are a lot of times depleted on high stress diets like vegan diets. So a lot of times once we implement one thing, we don't realize that, like for example, we implement too much salt, but we're really deficient in potassium or magnesium. And so we're like, oh my gosh, my blood pressure is high. And it's like, well, because all of those minerals have been depleted over time. So I don't know what could be happening. Those are just kind of speculation and like points that I'm kind of pointing out. I honestly don't know. But it's always in context. It's always in context of the individual. And so I would need to know a lot more to make a more educated guess. Have you heard about cycle suppressing, using progesterone for a few months to regulate the cycle? You just mean like using it continuously? Yeah, a lot will do that, especially if they have like really bad symptoms and they need the progesterone. Only thing that it does is really like mess with your period. So if you don't care about that, there's usually not a problem. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people. What's in the raw carrot salad? I have a couple posts back that you can have the recipe, but it's pretty much just a shredded carrot, white vinegar, a little bit of coconut oil or MCT oil, and sea salt. Any out-of-the-box suggestions for histamine intolerance caused by estrogen dominance? I've done all the things it won't quit. Yeah, it's usually a copper issue. So vitamin C, bioavailable copper in the form of grass-fed beef liver, and lots of magnesium. It's usually magnesium deficiency as well. And then dealing with estrogen issues, of course. Is Shilajit safe to take while breastfeeding? Didn't hear you answer when I asked. I'm honestly not sure. I haven't looked into that. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but again, it would probably depend on the brand and like if it's screened for heavy metals and stuff like that. But I don't see why it would be. But I would probably talk to the company about it. Thoughts on mammograms? Safe? Radiation. There's a lot of, there is an alternative called like a thermogram, or I think it's called a thermogram, don't quote me on that, or thermography, and they're taking like a heat scan, and it's actually much more, it catches things a lot earlier than a mammogram does. But I don't like a lot of people are getting mammograms to like screen for breast cancer, and like radiation is known to cause cancer, so it's just like really weird to me. Like, okay, we're literally like screening for something that we're causing. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But that's just my personal opinion. I know they're recommended, so I just think it's really a personal decision, and it's always important to do your own research. I'll resend my question. What would cause super light periods that are only 2 days long? Only need a few tampons. Is this bad? Can confirm ovulation from temp spike. I'm not sure. I don't know what your story is, but I would look into like just being under a lot of stress. Usually there's a certain amount of blood that's normal. I think it's like anything less than 25 milliliters, I want to say, is, don't quote me on that. You can look that up easily on like the gynecology website, is usually like a cause for concern. So, yeah, I mean, if it's only 2 days long, it seems light to you, there could be some reasons behind it. Usually that's going to be like a higher stress situation. So we're under a lot of stress, and so we're not making as much estrogen or as much progesterone. But like you said, you're ovulating. So, how long is your luteal phase? That would be another question I have. Like, is your luteal phase lasting the optimal 11 to 14 days, or is it kind of short? Clean brands for gelatin and collagen. I personally use Great Lakes, but I know there are quite a few different brands out there, so that I'm not saying by any means that those are the only brands. I just personally know that Great Lakes is pretty high quality, and I like them. Also, do you ever recommend any gut cleanse or detox with herbals? It just really depends on someone's history, like gut health wise. Yeah, sometimes people do need like antibacterial, some like mild antibacterial stuff, but usually I usually just recommend doing the raw carrot salad every single day. High dose gelatin, spore-based probiotics can be very helpful. Some like high quality greens powders that are grown properly can sometimes be helpful, or like horseradish or something like that, like Dr. Cowan's powders. But yeah, it's just really dependent on the person and what they're individually going through. But there's no need to like detox your gut. It doesn't work like that. You don't really cleanse your gut. Your gut's constantly cleansing. The goal is to make sure your gut is cleansing regularly, and you're having 1 to 3 bowel movements per day. I cut out carrots because I was told they're inflammatory for a year, even though I had no issues. Now I'm trying to add raw carrots back in for detoxing, but I get so sick and bloated. Thoughts? Yeah, if you get like sick and bloated from carrots, I would guess it's probably from die-off, like bacteria is dying. So I would just go really slow, maybe like a couple bites a day until you're able to handle them better. I've been tanning on a UVA, UVB because I don't have time to get in the real sun, but I'm always worried about all the terrible things people say about it. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm racking my metabolism or stressing my thyroid. Well, remember, if we're exposing ourselves to UV and we have a ton of crappy fats in our body, that's going to react, right? We're like frying ourselves in vegetable oil pretty much. So it's really always in context of like, what's the diet like? How's our stress levels? Personally, I will go in from time to time just because it makes me feel better, especially during the winter time. But yeah, like I think there's more studies that show the like self-tanner causes cancer over like tanning beds. So I just think that's interesting. Like the active ingredient in like self-tanner is probably worse than some mild exposure to the sun or sun type rays. So that's just my personal opinion, but I think it's very much like in context. Like if someone's just going in those beds and like baking, there's a problem. But if you're eating high quality diet and like you're eating only good fats, your stress is low, like it's just in context. I wouldn't say it's good or bad. There's no really right answer. It's more about the individual. I have dark patches around my chin. They just won't go. Any comment as to why and how to get rid of it? I don't know what they are. Is it like melasma? That would be something that's usually just like estrogen driven, and the fats that we're consuming, iron poisoning. Like, are we getting a lot of iron in our diet that is interacting in an interaction called lipofuscin? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it's a long way of me saying like I can make an educated guess, but I don't know. Also, what could cause bloating even from just drinking a big glass of water? I use a water filter. It sounds like gut stuff's going on. A lot of times if there's like really bad bacterial overgrowth, especially in the upper intestine or like stomach, that can cause tons of bloating. Magnesium dosage is 5 times what? Again, it's usually 5 times our body weight in milligrams. So, or like 5 milligrams per pound of body weight. Hey, I'm new here. What do you recommend for insulin resistance? I'm taking metformin 850. Remember, guys, that insulin resistance is driven by imbalances within the cells. So I kind of already talked about this in my last live, which will go up on YouTube because I got shut down. But pretty much, like, we want to be focusing on gut health. We want to be focusing on our magnesium levels. We want to be making sure we're balancing our blood sugar by eating some protein, carb, and fat every 3 to 4 hours. We're getting 100 grams of protein a day. And we're getting our carbohydrates from the right sources, root vegetables and fruits. Can periods get worse before better while healing? Yeah, usually women can sometimes see their periods get worse for about 3 months before like the 4th month is better. But usually over the course of the 3 months, like when you feel like it's gotten worse, they are gradually getting better. So for example, like the first month you're working on things, like you might have like what I would call a detox period, and then like over time it's like, oh, this period was a little better, and then like the next period's like, oh, this period was a little better, and then eventually like the 4th or 5th month you're like, wow, like this is a better period than I've ever had, which is very common in my fully nourished group. Like, what's going on? Any natural ways to treat endometriosis? Can this impact or be caused by hormone imbalances? Yeah, it is driven by hormone imbalances. There's like hundreds of research studies showing that people with endometriosis are not detoxifying estrogen well, and a lot of my clients that have endo have very low progesterone, and then they have like really bad gut issues. So remember, guys, that bacteria in the gut create something called endotoxins, and it's not a coincidence that endotoxins and endometriosis sound very similar. So gut health is so important for people with endometriosis, as is just supporting estrogen detoxification and breaking down fibrosis, which is like scarring of the tissue. But when it comes to like endometriosis, you want to start with gut health. So like something simple like a raw carrot salad every single day can be really, really helpful and supportive. A lot of people find that to block prostaglandin production, vitamin E can be very helpful, so that's something to look into. And like spore-based probiotics are helpful for any type of gut-driven issues or hormone-driven issues. We want to make sure we're supporting our gut health as much as possible, because that's where estrogen elimination really does occur. I'm a breast health navigator at an OBGYN. You usually can't get a screening MRI unless you have significant diagnoses. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I really don't know what the difference between an MRI and a mammogram is. or I don't know if it's very different radiation wise. Is your posted homemade bread recipe safe for those who need to remove gluten from their diet? No, spelt does have gluten in it technically. It is an heirloom grain though, so people tend to do okay with it, but a lot of people that truly can't eat gluten, like our celiac, they usually can't do spelt. Reasons for perpetually cold hands and feet. That would be like slow metabolism. So usually like just supporting metabolic rate. Usually it like points to just that we're not creating enough heat from the fuel we're eating. So when we eat fuel, we want to create energy, right, from that fuel. And so we want to make sure that we're eating plenty of food, protein, carb, and fat every 3 hours to regulate our metabolisms and encourage good metabolic energy in our cells. So a lot of times just eating more and eating more frequently can really, really help with that. I asked that cholesterol question for my mom. Haha, she said her cholesterol showed up 1,150 now that she eats meat and dairy, but maybe because of premenopause, she radiated her thyroid years ago. Yeah, that's possible. Anybody that has hypothyroidism is usually going to have high cholesterol. Do you know what usually causes bacterial fungal infections? Usually like not eating the right things or having a slow metabolism will eventually lead to a slow immune system. I'm assuming you're talking about like gut kind of infections, and that would be kind of like the biggest guess is oftentimes we're kind of self-inducing it in the way that we're eating a ton of the wrong things, or we're going a long time without eating, or we're unintentionally not eating enough, or we're intentionally not eating enough, or over-exercising. We're just putting our body under too much stress without providing it with the fuel it needs to recover from that stress. So that will usually make our immune system work less. You talked about giving us links to your favorite things or supplements in the past. Are you still thinking of doing that? It would be very helpful for a lot of us. Yeah, with the way things are going, I'm sure I think email correspondence is I know it's like very like old fashioned, but it's probably going to be a lot safer for sharing certain types of info. And so yes, I'm not on that yet. Like I haven't gotten to that point, but I will be sharing like in the next week how you can sign up for my email list, and I will be sending out something probably like once a week of like, this is what I'm reading this week, this is what I'm loving this week product wise, like just this is what are my favorites this week, almost like a weekly faves type thing. And it will be like education, resources, just what I've maybe learned that week, like just kind of a summary of what has this week been. And that will be good for both me to say like, this is what I've learned this week, and for you guys to kind of be pointed in the right direction. But I think that with just how things are going, like I can't share a lot of stuff on social media anymore just because I'm getting so censored. And so and I don't want to like get in trouble, like it's just weird. So email is kind of like the way of the future. I think a lot of us are gonna go. Luteal phase is 12 days, so seems normal, just light period. Yeah, I wouldn't say like, oh, I wouldn't stress about it, but if you have no other symptoms, then it's kind of like, I never want to like create women to think that they're like, they have problems that they don't, like if you're feeling really good, you have like a really asymptomatic cycle, like there's no reason to worry. I wouldn't obsess about it. Your favorite gluten-free bread? Yeah, like personally, if you want something that's easily accessible, like Canyon Bakehouse can be really easy to get, like most Targets have it. Bread, seriously, I do really love their gluten-free sourdough. Like, not gonna lie, it is a little bit more on the pricey side, and so it's not an everyday thing, but yeah, I would say bread, seriously, is very good, but Canyon Bakehouse is what I tend to use when I'm not making anything. Would you ever get a mammogram personally? If not, how would you be protected in that area? I would probably not get a mammogram. I would get, but I wouldn't not do anything. Like a lot of people are like, I would never do that, but then they don't do anything. I would do thermography. Thermography is just another way of screening, and it uses heat. And a lot of people, there are a lot of people coming out saying it actually catches things a lot earlier, because it's not looking for anything like a physical growth. It actually is starting to look for like patterns of breast tissue change. And so I personally would probably do that. How do you know when you need enzymes and probiotics in your favorite brands? If you have any type of gut imbalances, so usually women have slow transit time. They think they're not constipated, but in reality, food is moving through their digestive tract very slowly. And so that in itself is constipation, in the sense of like, just because you are pooping doesn't mean that stuff's not just like slowly sitting and rotting there. And so I usually just recommend checking your transit time by taking something dark like beets or chlorophyll or activated charcoal and seeing how long it takes to get through. If your transit time is more than 24 hours, usually taking stuff that's going to support the lower endotoxin like probiotics and increase digestive capacity like digestive enzymes can be very powerful until you can get your metabolism sped up enough to get food moving through your digestive tract at a proper pace. Your hair looks amazing tonight. Thank you. I know everyone is like, oh, your hair's straight. Yeah, this is me with straight hair. Would slowly trying to eat carrots, they legit make me feel so sick now, help with bloating issues from just water. It's so weird, never had this. Yeah, I mean, just like I would take like 1 or 2 bites a day. Like nothing that's going to make me any more uncomfortable. But yeah, that's so weird that somebody told you like carrots are inflammatory. Because, I mean, I'm sure if you were cutting out carrots, I'm like assuming that you probably were cutting out other things and be on a very restrictive diet, and that in itself can cause like severe overgrowth in the digestive tract. A lot of us think we're like doing a restrictive diet like to help ourselves, but in reality it can sometimes cause more problems. A loved one has really bad breath, but all dental reports come back good. What could be causing this odor? Gut bacteria issues. Oh, gut bacteria all the way. The mouth is the flower of the gut, and it's the flower of the digestive tract. And if we are not, if there's stuff just rotting and fermenting inside, it's gonna smell. Sucking on cloves can sometimes help, and then like practicing really good oral hygiene with like an oregano-based toothpaste, like Oreganol has a really good one. Doing like oil pulling can be helpful for lowering the bad breath, but overall you really have to work on the digestive tract to really fully eliminate it. Can you have a slow metabolism but still be on the underweight side? Have always struggled putting on weight but always have extremely cold hands and feet. Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of people think like, oh, I have a fast metabolism. I'm like, no, you don't. Like it's slow as heck. You're not utilizing fuel or energy well, or you're burning through it faster than you can actually intake it. So weight doesn't really determine how fast or slow your metabolism is. I've had plenty of people who are overweight who have very fast metabolisms. So it's really just people's bodies are going to decide whether they want to store energy or they want to burn up all the energy. And sometimes it's going to be based a little bit on genetics. So you can definitely have a slow metabolism and have cold hands and feet. It's really about being hypometabolic, meaning like our metabolism is not fully functioning optimally, over just saying like, oh, I'm hypothyroid or I'm hyperthyroid. It's more like our metabolism is just all over the place and it's just trying to compensate. Like any imbalances, it just shifts our hormones and compensates. And that this constant compensation is just going to lead to a full-on metabolic shift over time to where our metabolism is just not working optimally or functionally any longer. Would you ever be able to film some strength training videos for beginners with PCOS? I think that would be beyond helpful on YouTube. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to decide which direction to go with my content just because Instagram is so like shaky right now. So YouTube's definitely something where I'm like kind of getting used to it. It's weird. It's like, it's very similar to Instagram, but at the same time it feels so different. So yeah, I will definitely do more like what I eat in a day and strength training for YouTube. And then I do think I will do a podcast in the future just because it's something that I can own myself. Then my email marketing list is going to be the first thing to come. So make sure you guys sign up for that when that comes out. Keep an eye out for that. My brother was diagnosed with a suppressed immune system. Any tips for him? I don't know his situation. I think it's like important to kind of look at factors that could be driving stress in the body whenever it comes to like low immunity and working on resolving those. But it's going to be different for every person. Thanks for meeting yesterday. I highly recommend it for anyone who can. How long do you recommend a day to get benefits of red light therapy? Usually like 15 to 20 minutes, even maybe like 30 minutes is plenty. You don't want to like over bake. There is definitely such a thing as overdoing red light therapy. But I think like people do tend to crave it and they know when they've gotten enough. Like if you don't get enough, you tend to be like, oh, I just want to kind of go bask in my light, And so, but I think like a good goal is like 15 to 30 minutes depending. You mentioned spore-based probiotic for supporting gut health. Is there one that you recommend? Yeah, just Thrive Probiotic. I really like them. Got back my period for 3 cycles. Yay, that's exciting. After going missing for a year. Now it's missing again for 3 months. I have PCOS and insulin resistant. Any tips? Just keep doing what you were doing to bring it back. It can sometimes be spotty at first, It's like one of those things where it can take a while to completely return, but I would evaluate stressors. Like, was there any stressors in the past 3 months that could have been different from when you were getting your period? And it is winter. I don't know where you're at, but winter can definitely be a factor if you're not getting enough sunlight or sun exposure. Can you take digestive bitters after eating if forgotten to take before? I don't see why not. Unless they like give you heartburn or something. What is the best start to healing your gut? Probiotics. I love my red light I made. Thank you for your highlight on it. Yay! Honestly, the first goal is to get a bunch of foods that irritate you out. So if you eat tons of like nuts and seeds and tons of raw vegetables and tons of cruciferous vegetables and you're just constantly bloated and heavy and you eat piles and piles of food, that's the first thing that needs to go. Like start eating nutrient dense, easy to digest and absorb foods. That's kind of like the goal. When it comes to like things like probiotics, like those are all after we've gotten the basics down. If we're continuously eating things that are irritating or inflammatory, it's probably going to be a problem. But when it comes to like spore-based probiotics can definitely help with gut health. Gelatin, making gummies or jello can definitely help with with gut health. So yeah, those are what I would start with, like just working on the diet first, nutrition first. That's always the first step. And then if that's not enough to improve things, then things like spore-based probiotics and raw carrot salad and gelatin can all be definitely beneficial. I love my red light I made. Oh yeah, I already read that. Yay, I'm so glad. I was hoping you would say thermography, but then what do people do with the results? I'm not really sure, honestly. Like, I personally, we head to Mexico. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm sure there are people that know how to read the results. I just would have to look around. It's usually the thing. Like somebody knows what to do with them. I just gotta find them. I recently cut out gluten about a month ago and have had really symptomatic long luteal phase. Could there be a connection? Yeah, definitely. Like if your body was constantly irritated, and then now it's focused on detoxification, there could definitely be like a detoxification of estrogen for a while. That is a possibility. Or some people do find that they have more symptomatic periods when they cut out gluten because they're not eating enough carbohydrates because they were eating a lot of carbs in the form of gluten. And so when they cut it out, they just naturally ate a lot less carbs and they didn't replace it with like lots of root vegetables or fruits. And so it ended up causing a lot of hormonal symptoms because they're now like carb deficient. They need more energy. What would you suggest to someone who was recently diagnosed with celiac and has critically low iron levels due to not absorbing the nutrients because of an intense gut damage? I think like it just you definitely want to listen to your doctor. Did your doctor give you any recommendations? Sometimes people do need iron and if they can't absorb, like there are like iron patches out there that you can like put on the skin. So that's something you could talk to your doctor about. But it will really depend on the whole situation. I would want to see someone's whole case and do a lot of soothing and regeneration of the microvilli and the gut so that you can kind of like create an environment for healing so that absorption of nutrients can eventually take place again. But yeah, it's definitely not like a cut and dry, like this is what I would do. I think it really depends on what you need for your case. But if you're not absorbing iron from the gut, then it doesn't really make sense to supplement it from the gut, digestive wise. There are other ways to get it in though, and patches can sometimes be effective. I feel like there's so many beauty gurus and makeup artists coming out with PCOS and endo. Do you think there's a connection? Oh, hell yeah. Did you just see Tati's video yesterday? I saw that. I was like, I want to help her so bad. Like, I just like, Oh gosh, like if I could get my hands on that girl, dude, I could help her. I know she wants a baby so bad. Um, but you know, it's one of those things where you can only but yes, I think there's definitely a connection between using excessive amount of endocrine disrupting chemicals, because I'm sure they're using, you know, like you see it, they put like the primer on, they put the like sitting there on their skin long term, and then of course they're all into products, and so they're using plenty of products throughout their life. It's not just their makeup products, but yeah, they're using such harsh endocrine disrupting chemicals, so much of it on a daily basis, that's such just sitting on their skin. I definitely think there is a connection, but good observation. Can you tell us again how you made the jello? I bought the gelatin you recommended, but forgot what else you said and used to make them. I usually just put juice, like grape juice, and sugar. And that's usually it. You guys are going to take a trip with me to my office because I need to get my phone charger. But yeah, I usually will just do the jello or the grape juice. And sorry, it's dark for a second. But yeah, so I... sorry. But yeah, some people will add sugar. I think that's just kind of like a personal preference. I don't find that I always need to add sugar unless it's like a lower sugar juice. Like sometimes I'll make some like gut supportive gummies out of cranberry, like cranberry sauce with cranberry juice, and that's something where you would probably need to add a little sugar to make it taste good. But sorry, I don't want to die on you guys. But yeah, like really just fruit juice, gelatin, and optional like sugar. Some people are like, oh, I only do honey. I'm like, you can do honey. You can really do whatever you want. Okay, I think we're back in business. Hi, what are some mandatory supplements you'd recommend? I don't really think there's like any mandatory supplements. I talked about that earlier for PCOS in my earlier live, which will be on YouTube because Instagram shut me down. But yeah, I pretty much like went over the adrenal cocktail, which is like sodium, potassium, and vitamin C, magnesium, vitamin E, vitamin K, and then like gut support. But there's no really, I always focus on food and nourishing foods first because you can't really out supplement a bad diet. Would you recommend using baking soda to wash hair? Kind of scared to make this switch. I personally did not like that. I think it's like considered like the no poo method. A lot of people say that baking soda dries out their hair. So I personally use a borax rinse with the use of Morocco Method products. But I did find there's like a couple brands that I want to try. One of them being Inner Sense Beauty. Inner Sense, like I just discovered them like 2 weeks ago, and I've been like eyeing their products because I was like, how those are really like those look like they work really well. So I kind of like want to try that. But yeah, I don't think I personally would ever use baking soda just because I have not had a good experience with it, and a lot of people say like it does mess with the pH of their hair and causes some problems. How many grams of fiber do you recommend constipation? Your hair looks so pretty. Oh, thank you. When it comes to constipation, it's not about fiber. I personally think that some people need no fiber because that's what's causing your constipation. So when it comes to constipation, it's not really about fiber. It's more about metabolism and how fast food is moving through the digestive tract, which is completely determined by thyroid and stress levels. And so what are you eating? How are you eating? Are you super stressed while you're eating? Are you eating enough? Are you eating protein, carb, and fat every 3 to 4 hours? If you're not eating enough, you're not going to be pooping because you don't have the energy to poop. And I know it sounds like really like straight up, but I'm straight up telling you, like, if you don't eat enough, you're not going to have the energy to clear out the waste. I implemented collagen and I love it. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad. I have a reptile UVA, UVB light, but wondering if red light is also necessary. I don't think they're both necessary. They both provide different kind of different spectrums of light, different benefits, but sometimes we can get excessive in our wellness practices and it can get kind of stressful. So I just usually say like, just pick one and let that be enough. And then if you are like, you know what, I would like to try this, then at some point add it in, but I don't think it's like necessary. I tried Inner Sense. They are the best, especially for curly hair. That's good to know because I my hair is naturally curly, so I would love to try their products. Would you recommend gelatin over a collagen supplement? I used to take Organica collagen for gut health. I think it just depends on the person. Gelatin is going to be a little bit more like gelatinous and like soothing to the gut, but I think a mixture of gelatinous foods is best. So bone broth, gelatin, collagen, like they are all beneficial in their own way. Sorry, I have something in my eye. But yeah, I think all of them are beneficial. All right, guys, I made it to the end of my questions, which is crazy. That's so crazy. I'll do like a last call for questions. I'm sorry about how like the live went at the beginning. That was so weird. I don't know what happened, but I will post that on YouTube because I don't think it posted in my stories. But this one should, so you'll be able to rewatch it for the next 24 hours. But yeah, last call for questions. Any questions that came up? I know I had a couple questions on like supplementation, and I did go into that a little bit more during my first live, so that will be up on YouTube. And then, yeah, like, can't think of anything else. Oh, when I just keep an eye out this week, I will be announcing my email list. Make sure you guys get on it. Like, I don't like spam people from my email list. I mean, you can always like, if you do feel annoyed, you can always like leave and then resubscribe when you want to. It's just like with the current climate, you know, at any time, like your faves are going to be kicked off of social media, and I would love to have a way to contact you. I did say like I was going to probably do like a weekly roundup of my favorite things, like research studies, products, things like that. But I'll make sure I don't like spam you. It's so annoying when you like, you know, like when you sign up for someone's email list and you get like 50 emails from them in a week and you're just like, okay, that was my biggest regret. What do you use to shave your legs? Soap? Yeah, I tend to use soap. I kind of like go from thing to thing. I've actually like I really would love to use like a straight razor. I know there are girls that do that, and I think that's so cool. Like I would like to do that eventually, but I'm not there quite yet. So yeah, I just use like Castile soap, like Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, and like a Gillette razor. Is there another gluten-free flour that you could recommend for substituting the spelt flour in your homemade bread recipe? I'm not really sure what would work. Like when it comes to sourdough, you kind of have to be like a little bit more iffy, but there are plenty of gluten-free bread recipes online that you can easily obtain. So I would just Google gluten-free bread, easy gluten-free bread, and look for one that just has a couple ingredients. Saying the video is paused again. I'm gonna end it before it like deletes, it deletes me. Longer luteal phase so far, excessive dry skin and rosacea, stress, huh? Totally possible that it's stress. If you you have extra stress in your body, and you know like you're under a lot of stress these days, then yeah, I mean you can definitely assume that that's gonna affect our cycle. But yeah, it could be. Like that sounds a little bit inflammatory in nature, or like maybe thyroid. How are your hands and feet? How are your temps and pulses? Those are things that I would question. Gonna sign up for your email list right after this. Yeah, go for it. I don't know if I have any places to sign up for it on my website because I haven't updated my email, my welcome email in a while. So it says like, welcome to my resource library, but my resource library is down right now, guys, just FYI. I'm like updating all my resources for you. So anyways, like there's a lot of restructuring going on, so just please give me some grace. I'm a one-man show. Eating more helps with constipation, but I feel so full all the time. Any supplements to help move things along or increase appetite? Yeah, I mean, we need to eat enough in order to move the food along. But yeah, like, Keep It Moving by Organic Olivia is a pretty good one. Anything that has, like, Cascara Sagrada in it, just make sure it's aged, can help, like, short term. Magnesium can help move things along, especially if we're deficient. But yeah, the goal is to deal with the root of constipation over just trying to like treat constipation. For example, like how much fiber can I eat, or like what can I do to help with constipation? Like, no, we're constipated for a reason. Our bowels are moving very slowly, and that's because we lack energy. And so our body needs more energy. Our body needs food and fuel and nutrients. Like we need we need the energy in order to be able to clear our waste out. And so that's a different way of looking at it, but I find that usually is where people are missing the point. Like, it's not like you don't have a fiber deficiency. There's a reason why food's not moving through the digestive tract at a good pace. We want our transit time to be like 24-ish hours or maybe even less. Like, we want our body efficiently digesting and breaking down and utilizing our nutrients, and then getting out the rest of the waste fairly quickly. Like, we don't want it just sitting there, because that's going to lead to reabsorption of hormones. We're not going to be clearing as many toxins from our body, and it's just going to be, we're just not going to feel very good. Like, constipation is the root of so many issues, because if waste is just sitting there, then it's not doing us any good. Okay, I'm going to end the video just because I know you guys say it's bad. I'll try to update my app and see if that's a problem. But yeah, thank you for hanging in there. And I will definitely do some more product reviews. And I'm sorry this live was crazy. If I have time tomorrow, I'll go live again in the evening, just because I want to make it up to you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. Love you guys. And I'll see you soon.